Hi everyone, and welcome back to another wonderful episode of How To with Mia and Ziad. I hope that you have already hit that subscribe button and followed us on our other social media channels as well. But if you're new here, then go ahead and do that now. It's all under the handle Gerber Kawasaki. It's been a wild year to say the least, and it's flown by, but it's also felt like forever. Last year at this time, we were dueling in grocery stores over toilet paper and hoarding eggs. I'd say a lot has changed since then, and a lot has changed within the stock market, within the popularity of finance, development of COVID, politics, and more. So we thought it'd be fun to go through it all. Remember, none of this should be taken as personal advice. Specific questions that you have about your specific situation, please go and ask your financial advisor. But let's go take a look at what happened.
What better place to start than with investments? Last year was a crazy year when it came to investing. It was one of the most volatile years we've seen. We started the year off strong, but then had the COVID crash, the quickest drop into bear market territory in history back in March, followed by one of the quickest recoveries we've seen into the second half of 2020. March of 2020 was the third worst month we've seen in investments over the past 70 years. And what better way to follow that than with April 2020 being the fourth best month we've seen in investments over the past 70 years. Now, it's a great lesson to take away when it comes to staying invested and being invested for the long term. Volatility is natural, and we're gonna see moments of extreme volatility like last year. It's not the last time it's gonna happen, but making sure you're properly allocated and investing for the long term is key.
So last year at this time, we actually had a different president. We're now seeing new legislation and policies happening. There's a larger focus on renewable energy and supporting the expansion of EVs. Biden sees climate change as an existential threat to the health of our planet and survival. So we are really focusing on renewables now. A lot of rollbacks were made under Trump's presidency for climate and environmental sustainability, and those are now being changed. Stimulus and the attitude towards COVID has changed. A large reason being that we know a lot more people who have had COVID and we know a lot more about the virus. As we went into detail about last week, the large stimulus package is coming our way and aimed to help aid the public, reopen schools, and help restaurants and do a whole lot more.
A year ago today, we first received notice that bars, restaurants, amusement parks, concerts, all kind of public places and events were closed indefinitely with no timeline in sight. A lot of people were left working from home wondering, when are we gonna get back to normal life? Now fast forward 1 year and we're still dealing with some of those problems today. A lot of people are still working from home, staying at home, doing their part to limit the spread of coronavirus. But we're armed with a lot more knowledge and research, specifically in the form of testing and vaccines. There's a lot more widespread and accessible testing to better locate who does have the disease and then contain that spread. And also people are getting vaccinated. We have about 2.4 million people a day getting a vaccine, whether that be through Moderna, Pfizer, or Johnson & Johnson. And that's gonna continue to grow. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We just gotta stay strong through this home stretch.
In all of the headlines last year, we were constantly seeing 2020 as the year of IPOs or the year of SPACs, and we have discussed them in past episodes. IPO stands for Initial Public Offering, and SPAC stands for Special Purpose Acquisition Company. SPACs raised about $80 billion in gross proceeds last year compared to the record $13.6 billion from 2019. SPACs largely outperformed the traditional IPOs, which raised $67 billion last year. Some big IPOs that happened were Snowflake, Airbnb, DoorDash, and we expect more hot names to continue this trend.
Now, another big topic of conversation over the past year has been cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Dogecoin, all these kind of coins have really entered the mainstream. They weren't talked about as much until this pandemic. A year ago today, Bitcoin was priced at around $7,000 a coin. Now today, it's closer to $55,000 in just the span of 1 year, and a lot more people are getting invested in these cryptocurrencies. Not only that, it's becoming a lot more applicable in our day-to-day life as well. Tesla just announced that you can buy a Tesla car with Bitcoin. The Oakland A's are pricing their suites not just through US dollars, but through cryptocurrency as well. So this is something that isn't going anywhere. It's here to stay. It's something that you definitely want to be keeping track of over time.
Now, Tesla had a very wild and defining year. At this point, the company has established that they are the clear leader in EVs. Their production ramped up substantially, and they delivered 500,000 cars. While there was certainly a Tesla community built beforehand, there is undeniably a huge one now. Tesla's stock price soared almost 8 times. It was about 90 at the beginning of last year, split adjusted, and then now is just shy of 700. Their expansion and big plans for the future, expanding more to China, Germany, and Texas, only make us more excited for the future. The technology behind the car is really the most impressive part of it all.
One of the biggest takeaways we can take from this past year is that life has gone digital. With billions of people being forced to stay inside, apps and platforms like Zoom, Amazon, Teladoc, DocuSign, Slack, Salesforce, and so many more have flourished. While we've been missing out on that physical interaction, a lot of people can argue that work has become a lot more efficient. Socially, we've gotten creative in finding ways to stay in contact without being in person. We've had Zoom happy hours. We have video games being more popular. Streaming services have gotten a lot more popularity. And so when we come back or when we do reopen, don't expect this to change that much. We're not going to revert back to where we were before this pandemic 100%. That digital life is going to stay with us. And as we get more acclimated, more used to this is just the tip of the iceberg, and really excited to see where this is going to take us.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of How To. I hope that this helped show that really a lot can change in a year, so planning far into the future is essential. You want to get your plan in place now.
So as you go through these changes and these transitionary periods, you want to have someone on your team to help make those transitions and adjustments as smooth as possible.
Of course, if you have any questions about this episode or ideas for future episodes, leave those in the comments section. Make sure that you're subscribing to us on YouTube so you don't miss any episodes in the future. And follow us on all of our social media accounts under the handle Gerber Kawasaki. And we will see you next week. Give us a call if you have anything urgent, 310-441-9393. And we'll see you then.
See y'all next week.